Hey guys, Luke Nesler from the Moto Marketing Podcast. I want to tell you about the promotion that RacerX is running from now until January 6th. Look, if you subscribe to RacerX, renew your subscription, you're going to get access to the 50 years of Pro Motocross collector's edition calendar, right? These are limited while supplies last. You get a lot with this offer. I want to tell you a little bit about what you do get. So in addition to the calendar, you're going to get 1 year subscription, or obviously, like I said, the renewal, 2021 limited edition celebrating 50 years of Pro Motocross, a $25 Rocky Mountain e-gift card, a digital subscription to RacerX. For a friend, it's an $80 value. It's $30. Look, this calendar is, man, it's super cool. I'm flipping through. I've already seen photos of Doug Henry. We've got Mark Bomber Barnett. Let's see, what do we got in March? My birthday is in March. So, Jeff Ward, Jeff Stanton battle. Really cool stuff. Limited edition. I've got one for the office. I'm going to hang it up right after this episode, and I encourage you to jump on it as well. Go to racerxonline.com/moto marketing. Subscribe today. Hey, I want to tell you about Moto Brand. Moto Brand was founded during the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic when the sport that we live for was taken from so many of us, whether it's cycling or moto, waking up on a Saturday morning knowing that your local track was closed, there would be no Supercross, and for many of us that we couldn't even hit our favorite local riding spot or trail with our crew. We were forced to be reminded of how much the sport of moto and cycling truly means to us. Moto Brand represents a collection of individuals that not only ride, but live to ride. It's what we think of at all times of the day, and sometimes at a detriment to your relationship with your significant other. It's for those that look at their motorcycle or their bicycle as part of their identity. Maybe it's the way that you bond with your son or your daughter or your spouse. Perhaps it's your way to blow off stress of your day job, or even, hey, it is what it is, maybe even it's your marriage. This sport is more than just a sport. For many of us, it's a way of life. It's what keeps us ticking. It's what keeps us living. Moto Brand was created for a purpose, to be more than just a shirt that you can throw on in the morning, but these designs represent who you are and what you stand for. So I encourage you to head over to the motobrand.com, check out our collection. We have a pedal collection and we have a throttle collection, and there are more designs to come that stand for something. So head over to motobrand.com and we'll see you there.
Welcome to the Moto Marketing Podcast, presented by RacerX, the podcast for moto industry professionals, entrepreneurs, and riders. If you want to grow your brand and business in today's digital-first world, you have to know how to turn a stranger into a fan, turn a like into a customer. You have to know how to turn attention into dollars. This podcast is dedicated to keeping you in the know on real marketing tactics that work in the moto world so that you grow your business and help grow the sport. Get ready to learn from the very same marketing experts trusted by RacerX, Lucas Oil Pro Motocross, GNCC, and NBC Sports. They'll help you navigate the world of digital marketing for your moto brand. This is the Moto Marketing Podcast. Presented by RacerX.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast. I am your co-host today, Luke Nesler. A very special episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast. I'm joined by two very familiar moto faces that you'll recognize, one of which is the man, the myth, the legend, Davey Coombs, who I'm very excited to have in studio. We're also joined via Zoom by today's official guest, which is Rob Buydos, to talk about the upcoming Moto Fite Klub and also just Rob's story. And Davey, we had talked last week about, you know, who could we have on, some unique guests, and you're like, hey, why don't I come in and we bring on Rocket Rob and talk about what he's building with Moto Fite Klub and something exciting coming up that you're going to be a part of. So thanks for coming in and doing it in studio.
No problem. Always up for a good bench race, and I may have a slightly recognizable face, but when you hear Rob Buydos talk, everyone will know who we're talking about.
That's right.
He's the voice of Lucas Oil Pro Motocross.
Yeah, Rob, so just an icon and legend in the sport, somebody that's helped grow the sport, a very noticeable voice in the sport for Lucas Oil Pro Motocross. Welcome to the show, man. We appreciate you being here.
Well, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be on, and yeah, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. It's been a little while since we've all hung out at the outdoor motocross races.
That's right. So what? let's start there. How was that this season? Were you at those? You were at the events, right, Rob? You were still able to go to the ones that we did have.
Yeah, all 9 of them. Myself, Megawatt, Roy Jansen, Ehab. We were kind of in the control booth announcing live to the audience, and then Jason Wygant and Grant Langston would be over on the other side doing the TV coverage. But I was privileged to be at all 9, and man, what a hell of a season it was.
Yeah.
I'm still shocked that we got 9 races in.
I think everybody was.
I think that, as much as the pandemic has affected sports all over the world, I think that what Feld managed to pull off in Salt Lake City was fantastic. It kept the series whole, and I think that helped keep teams alive.
Yeah.
And then, we squeezed into 9 races in an 8-week window. And even over in Europe, the MXGP series that Youthstream Infront did, it got gnarly over there because that was going to end in Italy right when things were starting to lock down again, and they made it by the skin of their teeth. And now as we go into the real off season, no Monster Cup, no Motocross of Nations, no Paris Supercross, no Geneva. So it's weird. There's just not a lot going on right now, except ironically, as we sit here, the 49th Thor Mini Olympics down in Gainesville. And I feel like it's the perfect bridge to get us to January.
Yeah, I agree. I was watching today's the 250A battle today with Volin and a bunch of other names was pretty exciting. So it's nice to have more racing. I think we went so long without it, and then there was the uncertainty of are we even going to get the nationals done, that I was more scared than excited. Like everyone I watched was like, is this the last one? And I'm sure that was even more elevated for you guys. Something that kind of scratched that itch when we all wanted it was Rob, what you guys put together with the Moto Fite Klub, and the first one, which was you just had the epic fireside chat and all these things in such a unique way. Let's kind of back up and talk about that. Where on earth did that idea come from?
Well, I mean, what had kind of transpired leading up to that was we were all down in Daytona for the Daytona Supercross, which was sort of the last Supercross event. Not sort of. It was the last Supercross event with the crowd. And we were there, heck of a battle. And everyone was pretty much getting ready to go to Indianapolis. So as we're getting ready to leave the event, the Daytona Bike Week, the word come out that stuff was starting to get canceled. Then they were talking about, well, maybe it was going to be a week or two. So, all of us that were down in Daytona start thinking, man, if it's going to make it to Minneapolis. And then we really became apparent that there was kind of not going to be necessarily an end in sight. So we're sitting around and obviously like the rest of the world, we were sitting around, not doing a whole lot. And Ryan Villapoto is a really good friend of mine. Denny Hartwig, former Supercross PR guy. And we're on the phone and we're talking, and something goes, well, we knew that Supercross they were trying to figure out how to end a championship series. And we knew that Motocross was trying to get ready for a championship series run in the outdoors. And we knew that the piece of the ingredient that was missing to get them, as Davey said, a small bridge to get back together was just the entertainment of motorcycling. And, we knew that the championship style series that MX Sports and Lucas Oil put on, is almost unapproachable at this level. And especially with the talent, you couldn't even begin to ask those guys to do something when they weren't even really permitted to do their job. So I had to turn to what I feel is one of the most unused tap part of the world motocross is the former greats, the champions, the leaders of the sport. And Ryan Villapoto and I got on a call with Tony Alessi. Then next thing you know, Kevin Windham, he goes, I don't want to do it. I just want to hear about it. And then Pastrana, then Ivan Tedesco, then Jake Weimer. I'm trying to think who else. Brock Glover was going to do it. And then Ricky Johnson was even talking about doing it. And we had all these guys signed up. And then as we got closer, we were thinking, man, we better make sure that if we do this, we take every precaution we humanly can, because we didn't want to mess it up for people, again, like the MX Sports crew who was working on launching a national campaign. by maybe doing something wrong. So we really tried to be super respectful of the whole thing. We picked the top secret location. We thought it
was top secret because I drove there, and even though I had it in my GPS, even though I found out what part of Ohio it was in, Andrew Fredrickson and I drove up, and we're in the middle of an abandoned warehouse district, and I'm like, this really is like Fight Club, and I was thinking, I can't imagine RV and Travis Pastrana being stoked to be there, but they were, and then Wyndham shows up, and I started thinking that what Rob and his team were trying to pull off was impossible, but then it became impossibly cool. It's like, wow, we've got 9-10 of the greatest motocross and supercross legends, and no one's around. Yeah. It was just maybe a mechanic, maybe Tony Alessi, a couple flagmen, and actually there were no flagmen. I had to flag.
Right. We had one of the most overqualified flagmen in the world, and he wasn't even up front. He was in the back. I don't know. Did you throw your flag? Were you in a bad area?
I didn't, but it was funny because Mike Alessi kept stopping and talking to me about this section that Wyndham was doing. And it was just like we were at a mini bike race, because then Alessi rides away, and then here comes Villopoto. He's like, "What'd you tell him?" I'm like, he's jumping that. You got to jump at it. He's like, I'm not jumping that. I drank too much Coors Light last night.
I think so. You that was part of the appeal for the guys that got involved. Was it sounds like they just had a great time, but something that was obvious, but I don't think has been brought up that much. How did you get the buy-in from a logistically, like a travel standpoint? Because most of these guys, if not all of them, they drove completely across country, right? So,
well, as like I said, we did, like when we went to the track, and if you look back, and it was almost out of necessity. We knew that everything was kind of topsy-turvy. And at this point, what are you going to do? Call a sponsor to sponsor the event? That's bad taste. That was bad form, I thought. People are locked down. We said, we're doing this for charity. Right. And if you remember, there was the cystic fibrosis from Brock Glover, Road to Recovery, and I believe we did Terry Hart's goggles for docs. Mm-hmm. So everyone donated their helmet, their goggles, and their shirt. And Travis, of course, because he's Travis, went really above and donated gear and things like that. I think his helmet did $8,300. Anyhow, so we had that, and then we said, well, we can't get any of you guys free bikes or anything. You have to bring your own bike. So they all had to drive. So I believe Villopoto and Damon Bradshaw and them drove the farthest. I think Stanton drove the shortest distance, followed by Travis Pastrana. But Villopoto drove 41 hours each way to get there.
You have to remember, the context of this is it's May,
right?
And Supercross isn't happening; it's an uncertainty. Pro Motocross has been pushed back, and everyone had been shut in for 2 months. And those guys were more than willing to jump in their vans and drive to Ohio, because it was something that they wanted to do. They knew all the people it would benefit, and plus it was like a chance to get the hell out of the house and right. hang out. And is weird and sort of amateur hour-ish as it seemed, it turned out to be a really wonderful event. It was fun to watch. It was fun to be around, and even when it was over, those guys, I had other people, just as big a names calling saying, hey, when are they going to do this again? And I'm like, I don't even know how they did this one. But,
right, exactly.
But they pulled it off, and it became that like I was saying, that bridge that got us something in May, which is traditionally when Supercross ends, Motocross starts. And I think that Rob and Denny and Mike Weber and the whole crew that were behind the Moto Fite Klub, that was a service to the industry, and I think it gave everyone just enough of a relief after a couple months to feel positive again, and then things started opening back up.
One of the cool things about it was they told us, and obviously I think the motocross community probably understands it, as well as anybody, the streaming market that's emerging, where You don't necessarily channel surf. You pick what you want, log on to it, binge watch it, do whatever, all these things that are now possible. When we decided to do this, we had the streaming market. So we weren't sure, we had never done this before, a television production or things of any sort, And when we were done, we had found out that 69 countries had bought Moto Fite Klub.
Wow.
That's how many countries purchased it to watch, people in these countries. Some of them, obviously, Europe, the traditional countries, the Germany, the England, the stuff, those were the premier ones. But we had 69 countries that had purchased it and watched it.
So logistically, I mean, you've never put on anything like this to where there's this pay-per-view component. There's the production, which I'm sure you've had your hands in the pot with that. But just putting it all together, like how did you? Was there somebody that was already in moto that was interested in helping you with this? Did you have to find that vendor, so to speak? Like, how did you actually get it to where you could focus on the promotion of it? Somebody else was taking care of the behind-the-scenes logistics of the online component.
Mike Weber, and Davey had mentioned him just a few moments ago. Davey, I mean, he had his start as a child in the motorcycle industry, but I think Mike helped really get you on the television, I believe, back in the day, right?
Yeah, in the mid '90s is Motocross and Supercross are getting on TV. Starting with Speed World and ESPN2 and Moto World and all that. Mike was an intrinsic part of that, working with what is now Feld Motorsports, but back then it was Pace, SRO, SFX, whatever. But yeah, he's had a lot of success doing these pay-per-view events and small, medium level UFC kind of stuff. And they just took that model and Rob, sold them on the idea that he could get into his Rolodex and get a few guys there to make it worthwhile. I don't think anyone thought that Wyndham, Bradshaw, Stanton, Villapoto, Alessi, Pastrana. I mean, to get all those guys to come. Tedesco was there too. The one I felt bad for was Ivan had gotten sick the night before the event,
right?
And so he did. It was Ivan, right?
Yeah.
And Jake and Villapoto almost missed the race because they were taking care of him, but he was just dehydrated and had, thank goodness, not COVID, but he was a little sick.
Well, he had driven in the car 41 hours with Villapoto, so I'm sure he's gone through shock and everything else you can.
I thought Go ahead, Rob.
No. It was just, he didn't get to race. I thought Davey was going to say Jake Weimer. So early in the conversation, these are on these Zoom calls that the world's become now accustomed to. Kevin Wyndham is on the call. And it's, like I said, he doesn't want to do it. He just wants to listen. So then as he's talking and we're talking about the format, he starts, you mean to tell me that I could drive all the way from down here and get up there and only ride 2 times? And we're like, oh, no. So Kevin Wyndham ended up riding more than anybody. We had to take the television time out because he had ridden so much. But Jake Weimer came from Rupert, Idaho, and rode 2 motos.
Yeah. I thought it was what was so cool as far as like a fan perspective. I never had the opportunity to actually watch Damon and Stanton and these guys race. I came in as a fan when Carmichael had just really taken over the reign and Pastrana was in that weird transition from racing. I never had a chance to watch those guys race. So for me to watch them and Glover, and for those guys to still just completely rip, I was blown away. And then I was completely shocked watching Wyndham, and I think everybody remembers like him scrubbing or just whipping over the triple step up or whatever it was. Like, that guy hasn't really done much in years, and he's still who just shocked you guys, or were you completely, oh yeah, of course these guys can still ride like this?
I think that all those guys will be forever fast.
Yeah.
What was no surprise is how competitive Tony and Mike Alessi made it, because there was a big to do. Remember starting
launch control gate.
Launch control gate. He was the only one that had a starter unit on his front forks, because no one thought to bring him, and because they don't do a lot of starts, they just ride, and it became like, why is, he's going to get the whole shot anyway. It's Mike Alessi. why should he get to have a whole shot device? And Tony was like, give me the rule book. Give me the rule book. And turns out there is no rule book.
So things don't change. That's how they've been for years, and even on something like this.
But what was cool, Luke, was the camaraderie.
Yeah.
And we had when they were trying to figure out how to jump that step up, to see Tony Alessi giving Ryan Villapoto advice, and to see, K-Dub, trying to help Mike, and then, even the night before when everyone was sitting around the fire, we were waiting to see how this was going to all work out. And then all of a sudden Travis Pastrana does the exact thing you expect Travis Pastrana to do. He gets up and he runs across the fire and he tackles Ryan Sipes.
Right.
And it was like, where did that come from? And
well,
go ahead.
You had mentioned the production early on. Had you ever done anything like this? So the way our show starts off, Ryan lumbers across the thing, or Travis does, tackles Ryan Sipes, rips 3 microphones out of the ground, and that was the start of it. Then on the race day, we rode over some cable. Jeff Stanton rode over some cable access, got it wrapped up in the back tire of his bike moments before we're going on. So we had some technical difficulties putting production together. So Adam and those guys did amazing work for us, but man, we made it hard on them to make sure that everything we tried to do was good. And in knowing what I know now, and one of the big things we were talking about was this pit bike race we have coming up, the Monster Energy Master of the Pit, where Davey will be competing. But man, we have a lot better handle on that moving into this next event.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that. We're going to take a really quick break, and when we come back, I'm very excited about the Monster Energy Master of the Pit. Is that what it's called?
You bet it is.
All right.
Hey, but before you do this, I just want to say this, because it's 15 minutes. 15 minutes can save you 15% on your auto insurance, like Jason Wygant.
Yes. I've always wanted to say that on this show, and I almost did it, and then I didn't, and Davey did it for me. So that works. We'll be right back. Hey, I want to tell you about our friends at Flex Racing. Flex Racing is a one-stop shop for all custom designs and products that you need to look good at the racetrack. Flex creates some of the most stunning and custom race day materials available today, designing and manufacturing products that help you represent your team and your sponsors. Products like custom pop-up tents, table covers, chairs, umbrellas, bike graphics, bike mats, even gear bags. And I'm telling you, the gear bags, they're sick. We're going to get some made for Impact and our EMTB team. They're awesome. If you need your name or your logo on it, chances are these guys can take care of it for you. Flex also provides rider and team logos, truck and trailer wrap designs, custom t-shirts, and even jackets. Not only are the designs killer, but my favorite thing, the prices, right? They care about giving you the best possible price because Flex is entirely made up of riders and racers. They understand how expensive it is to look good and to be professional, so they've tailored the prices on all the products to be as affordable as possible to help privateers, big teams, small teams, everybody in between save the money that you guys need for things like travel, race fees, food, etc. They simply get it, right? Flex Racing's motto is secure the vision. They know that greatness exists in all of us, and they're here to help us bridge the gap between our vision and our reality. So maybe it's time to replace your pop-up from last season, or you need some fresh new gear, or maybe even need to replace those graphics on your bike to display your team logo. Give my friends at Flex Racing a shot. You can check them out at flexracing.com. Let them know that Impact sent you. Let them know that you listen to the Moto Marketing Podcast, and you can save 15%. Hey, big shout out to our friends at FMF. Little D and the guys are always doing some pretty exciting things, not just with the performance products, but man, they've got the coolest apparel in the game, and I want to give you guys an opportunity to get that at a little bit of a discount. If you go to FMF and pick up any gear you'd like, hats, shirts, whatever it is, upon checkout, if you enter the code MMP30, MMP30, you can get 30% off. So MMP30 at checkout and get 30% off your order on FMF Apparel. All right, welcome back. We got Rocket Rob Buydos and Davey Coombs on. We're talking about just streaming content online in a new and unique way. I think the internet has given us an opportunity to do such a unique thing today. I'm watching the Mini O's, which Racer TV's done some really awesome things for years, but honestly, seeing the quality of that production and how far it's come over the years is really cool. I mean, it is top tier professional quality. And now you have, new opportunities that are popping up, like your favorite athletes of the past being able to do a pay-per-view and watch them battle it out. And Rob, you started that with Moto Fite Klub. Talk to us about what we have coming up in a couple of weeks here with the new resurgence of pit bike racing coming back, or pit bike riding coming back. You guys are doing something pretty special.
Yeah, you were talking about the Moto Fite Klub. We did that in May. Then we moved over to Flat Track Fight Club, which, if you didn't have a chance to watch that was 4 of the greatest legends ever taking on the 4 current champs, and they were on Bultaco Astros, and I think it was the best racing ever captured. Then we did Freestyle Fight Club. Then we had a chance to do a show from Sturgis. It's a documentary. It's 3 hours long, called 80 Years in a Day from Sturgis. And then we're going to do some pit bike racing. So we wanted to cover every base that we humanly could in the span of from May till now. So we're back on pit bikes, and the guys from Yamaha stepped up. We not only have some of the best pit bike racers, we have some of the best pit bike industry people, i.e. Davey Coombs and the rest that we'll talk about later. We have some of the best pit bike women. We have some of the best pit bike vet racers. And then, as a very special one-time, first time ever, we are going to have the best professional men's quad riders race Yamaha Raptor 90s to determine who the best ATV pit racer is.
Oh my gosh. I'm not going to lie. I'm super excited to watch this. So
Porich, Fowler, Hetrick, they're going to be battling it out there. Johnny Gallagher coming in hot.
Davey, how did you get roped into doing this, and when is the last time you rode a pit bike?
It's been a while because I need a new set of knee braces, and I'm a little hesitant to ride anything. But what had happened was Rob and Ehab do a podcast called Dinner and a Moto, where at each of the Outdoor Nationals, they would get a guest on Friday night, make them dinner. Ehab's an amazing cook. And then sit down in the media tent and just chat and bench race. And they invited me for the last one at Fox Raceway at Powell. And I was telling Rob that I thought that the service that he and Denny and Mike Weber and the whole Moto Fite Klub did for the industry back in May, that we would never, leave that out of, the 2020 catalog of epic disasters with the occasional bright spots. And It was a really bright spot. And he said, well, maybe in the off season we'll do one with pit bikes. Would you be interested? And I said, absolutely, I'll be there. I didn't know that I was signing up to race.
Yeah.
I just knew that I was like, oh, if it's going to be in Ohio, that's a couple-hour drive. I'll go up and check it out. And now I'm is it the industry class I'm in, Rob?
The Industry Pro. Industry Pro. You'll be battling against Rob Fox from Dunlop.
Pro.
On Kuzo from 100%.
Another pro.
Beaker Onstadt, television celebrity / what do you call him? Agent to the stars.
Yeah. Yourself.
Now, I have another spot or two available. I was just kind of getting a little closer, but
are there other classes, industry non-pro? Is that a class, or is it just industry pro?
No, this is just pit bike racing. We're at the highest level possible.
See, I was gonna submit my ticket for the non-pro because I do rip on a pit bike, but I don't think I want to race anybody that was a former pro. I was a former pro spectator. I mean, but other than that,
if you actually listen, I think Davey's the only former pro that's been ever on a track behind a national skate of these guys.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's definitely. I've set the field so that he can savor one more victory on the top step.
That would give me a total of 1 victory as a pro.
That's awesome.
But a top 10, that's solid work.
I'm going up for the fun factor, the bench racing factor, and like I said, to support Rob and what they're doing. And it sounds like a lot of fun. I just hope there's not a lot of big jumps that I have to double.
I was going to ask, what's that going to look like? Because I got to admit, I've really. I have a pit bike. I have a TTR 110, and the reason I got it is because I started to watch the content that Twitch was putting out. And if these things look anything like the stuff that the guys out in California ride on their pit bikes, I'm a little worried for Davey. So what can we expect with the course?
Here's where I'm going to put everybody's mind at ease. We're having Shane Schaefer come in to custom build the track for pit bikes. Now, the really nice caveat is that as Ryan Villapoto is a father of twins and they've come up, we have a Stasic division and a PW50 class. So the highest level of bike on the track will be pro pit bike, and it has to work for kids on STACYC 0 to 4 years old. So I believe we'll be able to incorporate a little something for everybody. What you see the guys like Twitch and those guys do, which is incredibly cool to look, that's more of a free ride park. That's not a racetrack. So we're building a racetrack for pit bikes.
This is awesome.
So it'll have
excited.
rollers and little humps, and it'll be. And not only that, when we started doing the bigger pit bike races, everyone started in their backyard. But Davey's mom gave me the green light at Steel City back when Sean Palmer was a legend. And he hung around and we raced pit bikes for the crowd, and they loved it. And it morphed from there into us doing national series and whatnot at the track. But, back then it was, the tracks were fun. So we're trying to bring that back. So it's just really fun. You know, we're not looking to have anybody quad, tire tap, triple trip, nothing like that.
So you think?
Will there be a
well, yeah. We're running stockers. I mean, so
these are
Yamaha
TTR 110s. Got it.
Stockers.
Can I borrow your TTR 110?
You can, yeah, because I've got. Are they gonna? So when you say stock, are they gonna have bars or anything like that on it?
We always put a set of bars so you don't bang your knees. So that means you need a new set of grips. We put Dunlop. The guys from Dunlop are always nice enough to give us some really nice, cool little tires for them, so they get a good start and stay on the ground. And then Mitch Payton from Pro Circuit always bros us down with a cool set of pipes.
That's awesome.
So they sound cool, you don't hurt your knees, and they got good traction. That's all the mods that are done to them.
You mentioned that there would be bars.
I know where this.
Make sure there's Chardonnay in one of those bars.
Well, there's going to be a straw in yours, so you'll be able to sip and ride.
Maybe I'll go up as Davey's mechanic, and I'll hold the pit board out with a glass of Chardonnay. Okay, so industry class. Who else can you release any names of anybody else that's going to be there in the non-industry classes?
Well, in the pro women's class, Jordan Jarvis is coming out, the first woman to qualify for an outdoor motocross national. Davey and I were there. I believe she was able to do it in Florida in the second moto, then properly qualified out at Paula and was able to ride 2 motos. So we'll have that historic individual there. JP Money's making her big return. So Jessica Patterson's coming back. Corey Steed, I want to think's in that mix. I don't have my list of the girls in front of me, but certainly a strong list of girls. We have a strong list of pros, and then we're going to have a vet class as well for the 40 and over. And the last time we checked in that class, it was Dwayne Brown from BBR fame and Jeff Stanton, who were going to hold up that honor as the benchmark in the vet class. And these guys that were going to be racing all day qualified down to take on those pit bike legends, if you will.
That's awesome.
We were going to have Bradshaw there, but he got banged up a little while ago, and he wasn't able to make it.
Yeah, so we can't release any of the big names in the pro class yet, right? But
the pro class seated guys. So, and again, Dave had a front row seat for this one as well. Pit Bike of Nations, Red Bud, a couple years back.
This is where it all started, I feel like.
Well, we started way long ago, but this is where it culminated into, I don't even know what you want to call what we did there, but something. And so Ryan Villapoto, Carson Brown, and Willie Browning represented the U.S.
Right.
And they were fortunate enough to go 1-1-1. So I feel that a lot of the kids, and not kids, a lot of the pit bike racers, they felt like, hey, I could have been out there too. So this is finally a chance for them. And they'll qualify all afternoon long. And I'm not necessarily looking for the 10th fastest local guy. I want to see how Carson, Ryan, and Willie do against the fastest local guys. The fastest.
Yeah.
And if somebody's able to come out on top, then they get to be the new king. But if Carson and Ryan and the boys kind of stay in their position, then, we'll know that we really selected well with our team.
If with the STACYC race, I'll let my nephew Caleb Russell know, because Crew is a STACYC fanatic.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, Caleb had knee surgery, so he's on the couch for probably a few more weeks.
Well, maybe Crew can hold down the name for the Russell family then. Hey, what are your guys' thoughts on just the current state of pit bikes? I felt like they were taking off, and then, this whole pandemic thing hit. I literally got the very last TTR 110 that RG Motorsports in Bridgeport, West Virginia had on the showroom floor. I feel like it's exploding. Do you think it's going to go somewhere to where you might see some local tracks doing this? Do you think it's just good for the sport? And I don't think it's the kids that are getting on these. I think it's people like you and me.
I think it's one of the silver linings of what's happened in 2020 is that when people are faced with the choice that this could be your last year on Earth, what do you want to do? I want to go ride my motorcycle and do real and proper social distancing. And so it's been a boon to the industry. But I think what happened at pit bike racing in the first place is kind of what happened to Supermoto and kind of what happened to freestyle. And that is the specialist showed up. And it went from being like, hey, let's get these fun guys we know and have them go out and have fun and do a pit bike race like they used to do it, in the original Krusty Demons or whatever. It became like guys that were fully sponsored, were fully training and doing really next level stuff. When they started flipping bikes in freestyle, I knew that was eventually going to be the thing that caught up with the idea of having contests and stuff. But now you have a lot of people have the opportunity to do sort of self-marketing, like Axel Hodges. He puts out a ride video for 3 minutes, and that gets millions of views because he's built an audience and he does cool things, and kids want to, if they can't replicate it, they just at least want to, be part of it somehow. And I think that all of that's sort of meshed together to give us this remarkable period of purchases, and a mini cycle market has gone through the roof. My buddy Dr. Joe bought his daughter a KLX 110, I think it was, and gave it to her for Christmas, but this was 2 years ago. And it was so cold and snowy that she never got to ride it until May. And by that time, she'd grown 4 inches. She'd sprouted up. So Hilton, our buddy Hilton Beatty, happened to go by Dr. Joe's a couple weeks ago, and they were in the garage, and he looks over and he sees a brand new KLX sitting there. And he's like, where'd you get this? And he's like, Santa brought that for Ainsley. And Hilton was like, I'll buy it right now. Yeah, I'll pay what you paid and then some. And Joe's like, I don't. It's just, it speaks to the market how difficult it is because they've flown off the shelves. Right. And the same goes for e-mountain bikes. I'm sure that any motorized personal recreational vehicle you can get is in high demand right now.
So, Rob, I know if you really want to move some pay-per-view numbers, when are you guys going to do the EMTB Fight Club and get me and Mathis and that's
Charlie Mullins?
Charlie Mullins. It'll sell through the roof. I have a feeling.
Wygant?
You're right.
Right, now, okay, so here's
Randy Richardson.
Hopefully, and I know you guys. If you guys are partnered up, there's going to be millions of listeners, and I'll try to go as quickly as I can through this so that the world sort of gets it. The Fight TV platform we're on, they were all combat sports, and when they opened up the pathways into Australia, New Zealand, into Germany, the countries that were locked down, they bought the bandwidth and they said, you know what? Handle the motorsport side of it and the action sports side of it. We're combat sports. If you wanted to, dude, I've got a platform for you out there. For any of those guys, the skaters, the BMXers, the guys that are doing something that, maybe a little bit niche, but, there's some folks that are definitely following you. A platform like this, and I think we'll see as time goes on, people are looking for that vehicle for this, and as the streaming networks come and come, hopefully we're one that people look to, and it's FITE.tv. If you give it a follow, and then you can start to follow what we've done, I think you'll be blown away. And if you have anything you guys out there and girls want to do, let us know. I'm down.
Rob, we're going to have a conversation in the coming weeks, so I'll let you get this behind you. And I've got some ideas. I think they'll be big. We'll have a conversation.
I've got some ideas too. If you really want to sell a lot of subscriptions to the pit, King of the Pit,
Monster Energy, Master of the Pit.
Make the track a figure 8.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, I think that, and then will any of these guys have mechanics? Will they have people holding the pit boards out or getting wild with kind of what they're doing as the guys ride by, and maybe beer can handoffs and anything like that?
Well, okay, so here's kind of the sort of ironic thing about me. The pit bikes were always a unique, fun. It was usually once there was a couple beers flowing and things like that. And one of the things I thought that was a little bit of a tough spot with the first go round, guys were spending so much money on these bikes that they wouldn't even ride them. They were hiring people to ride them. Now with the stock movement, everybody's kind of riding their own bike again, and we're finding out who the really good riders are. So it seems like, that's been a pretty good thing for us.
Yeah.
Like the stalkers are back, and guys that can ride them.
Yep.
It's not the bike anymore. It has 26 horsepower. It's, can you ride this bike?
Yeah.
When you walk around like that, Rob, you remind me of Wygant after a national doing his selfie.
One of the many reasons to tune in on Racer X YouTube channel, because we do have Rob live in his house strolling around. Hey, before I forget, for those that haven't watched one of the other Moto Fite Klubs yet and they're not familiar with where to go, where can people go to sign up for this? When is it? How do I get access to this show?
It's fite.tv. You download the app. The show is already live on the pay-per-view. You could purchase it right now. The show's going to be, we're going to have a live show for free the day of, where we'll show more like the round table things. We'll have a chance. You'll hear from Davey and Ryan Villapoto, Carson Brown, the guys that are all there. The girl racers that are there, we'll have a chance to do a little round table. And then at 7 o'clock Eastern time, we're going to go live and find out who the baddest pit bike racer in the land is.
And if I can't tune in at the live time, you do have access to the pay-per-view for life after you've paid for it, right?
Yeah, and you could go back anytime and buy it. Like,
got it.
When we got done with Moto Fite Klub, heck, we went to bed and woke up the next day, and it was up another 30% had logged on to watch it, to buy it.
They just wanted to make sure that it was legit first, and then once all the hype got out, then more people went and bought it.
Well, that's where most of the Europe comes in. They're kind of sleeping around our 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. Then by the time they wake up at 6 or 7 in the morning, but there's a chance, and I hope everybody takes it. It should be something pretty damn good to watch.
Any expectations on yourself for your performance or what you're hoping for?
Well, I'm going to go there, and I'm going to just really focus on my strengths, which are spelling, trivia. Pretty good with an iPhone, taking photos.
Yeah, you're good with a bottle of wine.
My goal is not to not get hurt and to just have fun and just participate in Rob's event. I like I said, I feel like we all owe him one for what those guys did for us all back in May, and I didn't think that he would call me on that so quickly that I have to do this, but it'll be fun, and I wish I could get in the Stasic race. That would be more. That would
be epic.
Yeah,
it might be awfully slow, but
if you weren't 6'2", it might be a little bit easier.
That's great. Well, Rob, I'm excited about it. I'm excited to maybe we'll have you back on when we do the EMTB Fight Club, and we call Mathis out and all of that too. We'll make that happen. But
consider it done. I can't wait. I'll start the promo tomorrow.
All right. Rob, I appreciate it. Davey, thanks for joining us. We've got a few other exciting guests that we'll keep under our cap for now, but Davey and I are working on having some more special guests come in, and hopefully we get to see this guy sit next to me more often. And Rob, hopefully we can have you back on one of these days. We didn't really get to dive into your personal story and your career. I'd love to do that, and I think a lot of people would enjoy hearing that. So we'll be sure and have you on and get you back on the show.
Hey, thanks a lot. If you want to see the last crazy-ass thing I did, go watch King of the Baggers.
All right.
I had Harley Davidson versus Indian at Laguna Seca.
Okay. We'll check
I've had quite a year so far.
2020 has been your year. Maybe not anybody else's, but it has been your year. That's awesome.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. I really appreciate it. Davey, can't wait to see you up there. And that E mountain bike's going to be sick when we take it to the crowd.
That's right. All right, guys. We appreciate it. Thanks for watching.
Thank you for listening to the Moto Marketing Podcast. If your goal is to get real, measurable results from your marketing that will grow your company revenue, then check out how Impact Media can get the same results that they have for Moto's most iconic brands by visiting thinkimpact.com. That's THINKIMPAKT.com. Have a marketing question that you want answered on the show? Send your questions to questions@motomarketingpodcast.com. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. And we'll catch you on the next episode of the Moto Marketing Podcast.